Well, we cross live now to Taihakurei Durie, co-chair of the New Zealand Māori Council. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's start by asking you if you agree with Hone Harawira. Do you think that this process has been designed to ultimately get rid of the Māori Council?
Tēnā koe Miriama, there's always the risk that will happen. The moment you talk about reform, you are talking about the prospect of removal. And in this case, the government has a couple of reasons for wanting to see to the removal. One is because of the council's involvement in the water claim. The second, and probably the most important though, is the government's wish to take control of the Māori wardens. And the council is opposed to that shift away of the wardens from the council to the central government. The wardens are based significantly upon their association by their own communities, to which they remain accountable by having to be reappointed every 3 years.
Okay, so you do feel that this is a process to get rid of the council. You agree with Hone Harawira?
That could be the agenda. For my part, I'm not concerned so much about what the agenda is. I'm concerned about how we retain the principle of self-government that underlines the council so that it continues into the future.
Okay, it's a 50-year-old act, so a review surely is needed, and the council itself is undergoing a renewal process, so there must be some agreement that a review is required.
Yes, there is. Reform is necessary, reform is critical, but the reform must be led by Māori people themselves. The history of the council is one that goes back to 1900. It's the product of direct negotiations between Māori and government for a measure of self-government for Māori people. And any reform of the council must be led in the same way, by direct negotiations between Māori and the Crown, not by a government-led process of consultation.
Well, it was a government-led process that set up the act that created the council in the first place, wasn't it?
No, it was not. It was the result of Māori pressure, starting from the Te Kotahitanga movement in the late 1800s, right through to 1945, again in 1962. It was Māori people seeking a measure of self-government. It was the result of direct negotiations.
And certainly the Māori Council has done some very effective work in its time, though I couldn't see much major action between 93 and the water claim. How relevant is the Māori Council to Māori now?
For so long as community self-government is important to Māori people, and that Māori people should have an opportunity, a statutory base on which to promote Māori policy for the future, it is always relevant, it is always important.
Does the council speak for all Māori?
No, the council doesn't speak for all Māori in the sense that that is truly representative of all Māori. What it seeks to do is to promote policy for the benefit of all Māori.
Okay, we know that, I mean, you've said that there does need to be reform. What we know is that the council hasn't been fulfilling its obligations, I guess, under the Act. I mean, I've got a report here that says that district Māori councils are largely inactive, and perhaps since that report was written, things have become better, I'm not sure, but certainly on your own website, 7 of 16 councils appear to be inactive. So a lot of work ahead?
There is a lot of work ahead. The council has just been rebuilt. The fundamental problem is the lack of resources. It has not had the resources that is necessary for the task that it has in its statute. It depends almost totally on voluntary effort, and as a result, I think that things did fall away in an earlier period. We have been committed to rebuilding the council. We're in the process of rebuilding. We are re-establishing districts throughout the country. It does need to be rebuilt, and we need time and to do that.
Why does it need to be rebuilt? Because certainly we know that the iwi leaders group was at odds with you over the water claim. Why is this necessary? Why can't iwi speak for themselves?
Well, the iwi leader, I think there's room for both organisations. The iwi leaders are, of course, a very important part of the scene today. And iwi leaders and the council need to talk about our respective roles and how we can move forward together, and what exactly is the function that each of us is performing. I think that the Māori Council structure has that capacity to engage with all the Māori communities, both urban and rural. I think that the focus of the iwi leaders is very importantly on re-establishing the tribal strength, re-establishing the tribal asset. I think at this stage in our development, we need both.
Okay, you've the council's talked about taking legal action against the Crown's process. Is that going to happen?
I do think we have to look very seriously at the fact that at the moment the wardens are being operated through the central government when a statute says they are to be operated through the council.
I'm afraid we're running out of time, Taihakurei. Apologies, but I mean, is that legal action going to be taken?
Yes, it will be taken.
All right. A final question for you. We heard your co-chair, Manu Paul, say recently about the Labour leadership primary that David Cunliffe had a broader appeal than the other two candidates in the race, and that was needed. Can we take that? Can we take it as read that the Māori Council was backing David Cunliffe in this primary? No,
the Māori Council is apolitical, and it doesn't support any particular political party. It only supports Māori self-government. So that view was Manu's own view. I think he's recognised that, and I think he's made it very clear that he was talking for himself and not for the New Zealand Māori Council. All
right, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. That's Taihakurei Durie, co-chair of the New Zealand Māori Council. And Scotty, you're with